Hello, Bob Van Rossum with Market Pro. We just wrapped up a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer executive search with a $115 million SaaS organization that's PE backed. And it was a great search. We got to the end and there was a challenge, right? And the challenge is something we see a lot with PE backed organizations is they want to do a case study for the final interview and turn it into a presentation, which the case study itself is an excellent idea, right? I highly recommend doing case studies where you can figure out the right way to do that. And as a marketer, it's good to know their thought process on certain things and how they strategize. It's also good to know how they present to a larger group and to senior leaders. All of those things I think are very valuable and encourage case studies in the process. Where we've got to be careful, right, and where things can go wrong is if you're expecting that person to have a level of understanding of the organization that's not possible at this point in the process. And it sounds a little bit silly, but we do see it all the time, right? So this is a great organization, like I said, 115, 120 million. They came to us for a CMO search, and they really didn't have a CMO. They had kind of a director, VP level person, and they were just leveling up as the organization's growing, really looking for a very data-driven performance marketing, digital native, ABM, modern CMO who also therefore, is digital first, but understands brand, comms, all the things a CMO needs to know. So also in a very difficult location, so we were able to get them candidates that wanted to move to their small town, which was a big challenge with the search, but one that we knew going in. So at the end of the day, though, we had one candidate separate herself from everybody else. She really wanted the opportunity, and they really knew she was the right fit. And so the senior level executive at the organization who's there, but is also part of the PE firm and has done a great job of running the interview process, great job of building on all things revenue related from sales to marketing to product. It is super bright guy, sends me the case study, right? And what I see in it is a common mistake. So the case study starts with bullet points. Here's kind of what we've done as an organization over the last 90 days in marketing, but it's literally bullet points. And then here's what we need to know is what you can do to build upon this. And it's asking for a lot of specific information that you absolutely want to get from your CMO in the first 90 days, probably in this case, based on the size of the organization and the industry that they're in and how fast they're moving. It's really going to be in the first 30 to 45 days that this person needs to be able to perform the function of what was in the case study, which is setting a lot of marketing strategy, understanding where the organization is going to go, but not really a realistic ask based on the information they have. So I called the guy and I said, hey, I like the case study is interesting. We need to kind of amend it in one of two directions, right? One is we could do a case study that has nothing to do with your organization. And therefore, we're asking for a exercise that shows their expertise in marketing, strategy, digital, leadership, executive team building, all of those things, but it's not specific to your organization. And that's generally what we like to see. But most organizations want to shift it to be something that is within their organization. And the danger in that is two things. The danger in that is one, the individual doesn't really have enough information to perform the function well. And two, the lens that the other people that are grading this are looking at from is skewed, right? Because everyone in that room, from the CEO to the head of HR to the head of sales to whoever else they pull into this presentation, the CFO, they all know more about the organization than the candidate does. And so it tends to give an expectation of what the candidate can do with limited data that is typically not realistic, right? So I kind of presented all this to the leader who was in charge of the search and who was from the PE firm. He said, I understand what you're saying. So what we're going to do, right, is we're going to take what we're asking them to give us as far as data and information, and we're going to tone that down. So we're not asking them for specific marketing plan that is information that's not necessarily realistic based on their time. We're not asking them for certain strategy questions, but we are going to ask them to get their thoughts on from their understanding where we are today and where we need to go. And really now you are layering in a realistic exercise and a realistic ask of the candidate. And he said, and I'm also going to go make sure that everyone in the room knows, hey, as we're talking to this candidate, remember that they're still on the outside of our organization. They don't have all the information and data that you do. They have what we've given them in the interview process and what they've been able to find from publicly available information. So all that to say, right, we really encourage case studies. We really encourage them because there's so much value in understanding who that candidate is at that very last step in the process, right? So at this point in time, they've been through 4 Zoom interviews. They're going to come on site and do one final interview and then also do the case presentation, and that will be the end of the process, right? But what we see happen too often is that we cloud that case presentation, which is a good idea, with an unrealistic expectation of what we can expect from someone who's never worked a day in our organization so far. And then the people grading it, are they looking at it through the lens of understanding, hey, this is where this person's knowledge should be at this point in time, and here's what our expectations should be that we're getting out of this. And when done properly, it's a really valuable tool. And when done incorrectly, you can rule out some really talented people and miss out on a great hire.